Hello everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to this month's episode of Startup TV from us here at MadeSimple. My name is Sarah Kerrigan, I'm the social media manager here at the MadeSimple group, and today this end I'm joined with Matty Aitken, who's our head of content.
Hiya.
So firstly a little bit about Startup TV, and before we get started, so Startup TV is all about providing you guys, our lovely customers, with lots of useful advice and information, all about starting and running your own business. So do keep an eye out for our future webinars that we'll be running. We'll be running one every month. Our next one next month will be all about starting and marketing your business. That's going to be Michelle Carville, our head of marketing, so do keep your eyes open for that. So back to today. Today we're joined by Feefo, who are partners here at MadeSimple. So a big hello to Kirsten, who's head of innovation at Feefo.
Hi.
Hey Kirsten. So Feefo are actually an independent review site. We use Feefo ourselves here at MadeSimple to collect reviews from our customers. It's a system that works really, really well for us. So in a minute, I'm going to pass you over to Kirsten, and she's going to be talking about why it's so important for businesses to collect reviews of their customers and how you can do this in a reliable way using something like Feefo. In the meantime, if you've got any questions at all throughout, please don't hesitate to ask them. You can tweet us at madesimplegroup.com. or just email me, sarahk@madesimplegroup. All that information is on the landing page in the bottom right-hand corner. Matty's going to be on email and at the end of Twitter, so any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. Okay, so Kirsten, I'm just going to transfer over to the slides now, and then we're going to hand over to you.
Right, so Sarah's going to be controlling the slides, so I'm going to be asking Sarah to flick through a couple of times. But I can just start by giving you a brief introduction about who Feefo is. So we've now been trading for about 5 years. We've got 2,000 merchants across various industries. We're a Google licensed partner. What that means is we collect service and product reviews, which feed into seller ratings and product listings on Google. We distinguish ourselves against the competition in terms of the review market, such as we're a closed platform. What that means is no customer can come directly to the Feefo site to leave a review. They have to be invited to do so, and that's based off a genuine transaction. So that gives all of our merchants the comfort that all the reviews they see coming in are from genuine customers, but it also gives consumers the confidence that any reviews they read on our site, but also our merchant sites, are genuine. So if we just flick to the next slide, and just talk over the agenda that I'm hoping to run through today. So I don't want today to be death by PowerPoint, so you can ask questions during the presentation. However, I do want to kind of briefly go through all of these points. I'd like to start with just giving you a few statistics about the review industry and why it's so commonplace. If you are going to use reviews, why use a third party? If you do start collecting reviews, how can you make sure that you harness this really rich user-generated content across all of your business? That doesn't have to just be your website. Then going to how you can manage your online reputation. Needless to say, not all reviews are good, but you don't need to be scared of negative reviews. In fact, they can really help your business grow, but also you can kind of use it as an opportunity to showcase your customer service. And I'll go through some best practice ways of responding to negative reviews later on. Customer insight. So you've got all of these great verbatim comments that customers are leaving you, but what can you do with those to affect change within your business? So I'll go through how you can use different reporting suites and how you can break down the data so it becomes a little bit more actionable for your business. And finally, I go through a brief introduction on the future of reviews. I'm actually head of innovations here at Feefo, so this is my baby, but again, there'll be questions at the end, but if there's anything during the presentation, I'll be happy to answer. So if we just go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Right, so let's get started. If you don't already use ratings and reviews, chances are you've probably had exposure to them, whether that's been you've been looking at a holiday or a product and you've been reading reviews yourself, or maybe you've left reviews for another company. So with 89% of people saying that reviews influence their purchase decision, it's no wonder why so many people have actually decided to take the plunge and get review of their website. It's actually been found that 80% of consumers say they read at least 6 to 12 reviews before buying a product. And also consumer reviews are found to be more than 12 times more trusted than any product description on a page. So yeah, they really are quite important. It's all about word of mouth. It's getting that those recommendations right to the forefront of potential customers' minds. And there's actually 75% of consumers now actually expect to be able to feedback on your brand. They expect to be feedback into product developments. There's a real kind of community feel going on. So that is really why review market's kind of taken the world by storm over the last few years. If we just go to the next slide. There's a couple of, might want to click through. Yeah, there we go. So if you've done a Google search recently, you've probably come across these stars next to AdWords. How these stars are seller ratings, so they're Google seller ratings, and they're actually formed from Google licensed partners such as Feefo, and it's all done by genuine customer reviews. So really in a marketplace where you can do a search, I've got one here for a dog bed, for example. There are so many companies that sell dog beds, and if you don't have any preconceptions about any of those companies, how can you make the decision on which one might be better? So at this stage, it's all about driving people to your website, and that's part and package of actually having ratings and reviews. If we just go to the next slide. Yeah. So Google have actually found that by adding these seller ratings next to AdWords, it actually increases click-throughs by an average of 17%. And actually, they've just recently launched product reviews and ratings next to the product listing ads. And that's already shown an increase of 5% for click-through rates on those particular products as well. So to be honest, stars and ratings are usually the first part of the journey in terms of when you sign up for reviews, ratings and review process. But there is a lot more that you can do with these reviews when you've started to capture them. So if we just go through to the next slide, before we talk about how you can leverage that content onto your website, I just really wanted to talk about why use a third party. Obviously, you get the Google stars, which you can only get through a third party licensed software. But it's all about trust, really. How can you give your consumers the peace of mind that your reviews are actually genuine in content? And actually, if we go to the next slide now, there has been a lot. I don't know if anyone's seen the recent news, but there's been a very hot topic of late that with the explosion of these ratings and reviews, not all of these ratings and reviews are actually from genuine customers. Some businesses are writing reviews about positive reviews about their business themselves, or in some instances, their competitors are writing negative reviews about them. And actually, it's not just the fake reviews which are the problem, but in occasion, it's the reviews which are hidden from view. So if you go to product pages and all the products have fantastic reviews and there's not a single negative, it's actually kind of misleading in some instances. And you are starting to mislead consumers. So Feefo, it's all about genuine content. And with an estimated £23 billion a year, being estimated to come from people being influenced by online reviews, it's quite important to ensure transparency. If we just go to the next slide. So it's quite simple to build trust. Just click through again. 1, guarantee reviews come from genuine customers. And 2, don't moderate those reviews if you do get negatives, because people aren't stupid. If we just go to the next slide, if a consumer doesn't see any negative reviews, 30% of those consumers will suspect censorship or fake reviews. So that doesn't actually work well for your business, because if you sell a product which other people sell, they might look elsewhere for reviews of that product. Also, it's an online business. We're all used to shopping online. We know that I might look at a photograph of an item and I may be having the expectation that the quality is going to be of this standard, even though the price might be really low. I receive it, it's not actually how I thought it would be. You know, when you go into a store, you can pick things up, you can feel them, you can try them on. So you're not going to get those types of, that type of negative feedback, but it's all about, in most instances, about expectations. Whereas another customer will come along and have a different expectation and be really happy with the product when they receive it. So by actually putting your negative reviews, which actually say a little bit of a description about the product and how it, and their original expectations and how it was when they received it, but also your response, which you can leave alongside that review, is really powerful, and hopefully it will stop consumers either making the same decision next time, or which hopefully cut down on the number of returns you've got to deal with as a business. But also it just guarantees and gives a little bit more sense of confidence about the reviews that you've got on your site are really genuine. And also if you respond to those reviews, it's showcasing your customer service, and it just gives you a voice in that relationship as well. And if we go to the next slide, only 5% of people say that they wouldn't buy a product with bad reviews. So it's not actually, in the grand scheme of things, too much to get worried about. And finally, the next slide, consumers spend 4 times as long on your site when they interact with bad reviews. So that's good for you. It's good for your site quality score. It's all of this rich user-generated content and being able to join in with your community of shoppers. I don't think there's any reason to start hiding negative reviews. Obviously, if they're completely irrelevant, that's a completely different story. But I'll go into a little bit more detail later on the best ways of handling these negative reviews when they do come through. So if we just go to the next slide. Right, so you've got your Google stars, you've got all of your reviews starting to come in. Now, what should you do with those reviews? What's the best way to leverage that user-generated content across your business? And to really, you've driven them through to your site, through your Google stars, but when they land on your page, how do you keep them there, and how can you push them to convert? So if we just go to the next slide, and just click through one more time. It's all about integration. So these are some examples of some of our merchants who integrate their service ratings onto their homepage. Now, we advise integrating above the folds. What we found is that actually lowers bounce rates, and it keeps consumers on your website for longer, and also pushes up conversion. And it's a really great way of advertising that customers love your service. The service you provide is really being noticed by your customers. And also by having the Feefo logo there, further guarantees it's of genuine, it's genuine content. So if you just go to the next slide. Actually, Monarch Airlines are a client of ours. Now, they did a considerable amount of A/B testing with adding the Feefo logo to their homepage and the effect that it actually had on conversions. And what they found is that by adding the Feefo logo, they saw a 3% uplift in revenue per visitor. And they also saw almost a 3% increase in the total flight bookings over the control version, which was obviously being without the logo. So you can imagine for a business the size of Monarch, then actually that return on investment was huge. So if we just go through to the next slide, that's about service reviews and what you do with those. Now, what can you do with your product reviews, and how can you drive conversions on specific product pages? So take this example. You've got people, they're interested in a shirt. How can you try and push them through to convert using the review content that you've collected for that particular item? Now, Charles Tyrwhitt did A/B testing on their product pages as well. And what they found is originally just adding the logo next to the call to action button. In this instance, that's the add to bag button that you can see here. They saw a 6% increase in conversion by just adding the logo. When they added the stars, they saw a further increase of 3%. And actually, there's a lot of benefits through this. So there's multiple ways to integrate this content onto your page. There's very simple ways. If you don't have a huge amount of web development resource, you can just click a JavaScript link or link people off to the Feefo site. Or the best way of doing it is to integrate it via XML. What that does is it gives a lot of SEO benefit. Well, that's what we're looking for your website. So, but there are so many different options. But at the end of the day, it's all about pushing the conversion, and stars and reviews are effective in doing that. So if we just go to the next slide. Right, so you don't have to stick with the get your service ratings on your homepage, get your product ratings on your product pages, whilst those are obviously the most effective, tried and tested ways. It's all about being creative with the way you display your reviews and trying to drive people through to different product ranges, actually driving people through in store. If we just look at here, the first two are actually showing their most popular items, customer favorites, ranges they suggest, but actually really pulling out the genuine reviews that those suggestions are based on. Virginia Hayward is in the top right-hand corner. Now they use their product ratings for their hampers, and they actually do that in brochures, they do it in newspapers, magazines, and then Romans is an estate agent, and they collect feedback for all the different branches. And actually outside each Romans estate agents or letting centre, they have their Feefo score for that particular branch. So it really is a great marketing tool. All the data is available to you. You can cut it and chop it in however way, in all different ways that you'd want to. It really is imagination is the key. We do have some people also who, I don't know if anyone has any abandoned basket programs, but actually pulling through the ratings and reviews into the easy emails can further kind of push people to come back and order those items. Or maybe you push them in a sales email and push the customer favorites. There are multiple ways of doing it, and we work with our merchants to try and identify the best ways of doing that. So if we just go to the next page. One other thing that Feefo has is a Facebook app. It's obviously you want to drive people to your social media pages, but you also want your social media pages to be relevant and fresh in its content. The app takes 2 minutes to download and it's in real time. So any review that comes through to the Feefo site automatically gets uploaded into the reviews tab on Facebook. So and also you can choose which ones potentially of those reviews you might want to pull out, put into your timeline. It's a very flexible solution.
Hi, Kirsten. I'm going to interrupt you there. I think not everyone's seeing the slides. I think a lot of people are seeing you speaking just to make sure.
Oh,
it's fine because you're lovely.
I promise you, the slides are very good.
But what we'll do is we will send everyone a copy of the slides afterwards anyway. Okay. Yeah. So
I will try and communicate via Sherrod's method. So I will try and be a little bit more descriptive of what I'm looking at and what you should be trying to imagine.
Okay.
So I've just shown basically an image of our the reviews tab in Facebook. But yeah, as Sarah said, she can send you the slides so it comes to life a little bit more. So if we just go to the next slide for my benefit.
Can't you, Kirsten?
Pardon?
You can see the slides.
Yes, I can see the slides. So now I want to discuss managing your online reputation. So we've already gone through, chances are not all of your reviews will be positive. You will get negatives coming through, but it's how you handle those negative responses coming through and how to best reply in order to highlight your customer service and also ensure that those negatives don't actually negatively impact your brand. So if we just go to the next slide. So it's a great statistic when deciding between two businesses. 65% of people will choose the one which actually responds to reviews. So there's a lot of benefits for our merchants to respond to any of the reviews coming through. We can set up real-time alerts, so you can choose to just either get alerted to negative reviews, or you might want to be alerted to both positive and negative. But it just allows you to really ensure that when a customer leaves you feedback, that feedback gets a response in a really timely manner, so that some prospective customer doesn't come along and see one side of the story. So if we go to the next slide. So this is just another statistic. 95% of unhappy customers would return if an issue was dealt with quickly and efficiently. So one of our best practice ways of responding to feedback is we suggest actually try and take the conversation offline before using Feefo as a portal to respond directly to that customer. So if somebody, for example, had a product and it was delivered damaged, and you've just had the alert come through, you'll have all of the customer's details, so you can get in contact with that customer, maybe either via phone or email. And then when you get back to Feefo, what you could potentially say is, "Dear Sarah, I'm really sorry that the product arrived damaged, but it was really great that we managed to catch up on the phone just now. As mentioned, the product is now a new product is now in the post. I hope you're really happy with it, and we look forward to welcoming you back soon." So if
Thank you. That's fantastic.
If a prospective customer comes back to your site, or they've reading these reviews, obviously the review might be read by you once, but it will be read by other customers potentially thousands of times. So they see one negative, which is something was damaged, but they see how quickly and efficiently you responded, you've resolved it, they know exactly what you've done. It's a real testament to your customer service. And also what the customer gets then is they receive their new product, hopefully not damaged, and they can go in and re-rate you. So you could actually get a new rating of positive for that original negative. If we just go to the next slide. So that's about dealing with negatives, but actually there's a lot of benefits to responding to positive feedback as well, especially for positive reviews left which include some of your keywords, whether that's keywords about your brand or about the products that you sell, anything that goes into your AdWords campaign. And if you respond using those same keywords, it's really powerful, and Google loves it. It's fresh, relevant content, and they will index that review highly. So obviously you want to get your positive reviews indexed as highly as possible, but also it's good for keeping loyalty for your customers. Maybe go through some of your top customers and pull out some of their really positive reviews, and just go back to them and say it was so great to be welcoming you back again, and just really keep those customers close and loyal and get them advocating your brand. So if we move on to the next slide. Right, so you've already got your reviews and ratings pushing people through on Google, you've integrated all of your reviews, you've started responding, you're managing your online reputation. Now you're faced with all of these reviews. What do they mean? How can you affect business change? Especially when a lot of them will be verbatim in nature. So that means, unless you want to sit there all day and read through every single review that you've got coming up and manually write down different trends in your data, it can be quite difficult to make these feedbacks actionable for your business. So one of the things Feefo can do is you can actually monitor feedback by customer touch point. So if we take retail as an example, a particular retailer might sell over the web. They might even take bookings or orders over the phone. They may also have stores. So what we can do is we can break all of the data into those relevant customer touch points. We can even break it down to as far as the particular salesperson. So then we can show what's the Feefo rating for this particular salesperson, or are we having issues with online orders? Is there an issue with a specific store? It just starts to become a little bit more actionable. So if you are noticing a lower score in a certain area, you can really target your efforts into understanding what those issues are. And that's where we have another solution which allows you to tag, basically code each feedback that you see. So then we have a reporting suite so you can see real-time trends in the data. And again, you can break those trends further down into the customer touchpoints. So it really, again, is as much as you make of the system, you can really get some really useful insights back. And again, I don't know if anybody's ever used Net Promoter Score. It's just a way of actually measuring your brand advocacy. Just by a universal scale of 0 to 10, how likely is a customer to recommend your brand to their friends, colleagues, family. And again, we have those reports so you can break down into those relevant customer touch points, or you can break that down further into the codes that you've added to your feedback. And again, just identifying who your brand advocates are is a really huge thing. Being able to potentially market something directly at people who you know will recommend you. It's hugely useful, and it's something which is really easily accessible and available for helping your business. So if you just go to the next slide. And finally, my favorite part, which is the future of reviews. If you just click maybe one more time. Right, so the hot topic at the moment is rich media. What I mean by rich media is it's photos and videos. Both of these I've seen to have a huge positive impact on SEO. So if you can get this media integrated onto your site, even better. But also, people are really likely to share photos and video content onto their social media sites. So again, that's even more positive for your brand. Actually, I've just got some statistics written down here where photo posts on Facebook get 39% more interaction. It gets 53% more likes, 104% more comments, and 84% more click-throughs than text-based posts. Wow. So consumer-generated video reviews are also starting to really edge their way forward, with Facebook seeing users post 75% more videos this year than they did last year. So it's an area where Feefo is really trying to get involved and trying to engage consumers at pivotal time point to get the right type of video and the right types of photos for our merchants to leverage them and actually use them in their own marketing, on their own websites, and really make the most of them. Finally, we've got a number of merchants who have bricks and mortar stores with us. So one of the things that we're working on is some Bluetooth technology, which allows us and our merchants to push relevant proximity-based data to consumers in a particular area, whether that's you're pushing reviews about items in store, even specifically on an item. They can read reviews for that item whilst being in store. And we know the number of times, well, I've done it personally, where I've been interested in a product and I'll get my mobile phone out and I'll look for reviews about it and I'll potentially find it elsewhere where it's cheaper or something. So it's about keeping consumers interacting with you and your brand in your store. And also just trying to generate feedback requests on the back of genuine visits. Someone's been in your store. Again, we want to keep the authenticity and the genuine content of all the content that comes through. And finally, on the next slide, I just go through these. These just give you, I'm not going to read line by line, but it just gives you some statistics about Feefo in general. Like we send 10 requests a second. We generate a review every 6 seconds. It's a really fast-paced environment. And that does mean that we do generate a lot of content for all of the merchants that we have involved. So I'm open to all questions now. I know I've gone through everything in very brief, but I've been mindful that I only had a certain amount of time. So please do ask as many questions as you want.
Great, thank you, Kirsten. That was really, really interesting. Especially about I didn't realise that the Feefo reviews were indexed as well by Google.
Yeah, they are if you integrate via XML.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, Matty, what questions? Any questions?
Yeah, we've had a few questions come through. If we don't get a chance to answer your question, we will pass these on to Kirsten, so we will try and get a response back to you. The first one is actually about Google stars. So is there a minimum amount of reviews you need to get Google stars in AdWords?
Yes, it's 30, so it's not a huge amount, and those 30 have been collected within the last year. So Google will hold those 30 for at least a year, but if they're not refreshed, they will drop off.
Okay, brilliant.
Definitely doable then, isn't
it? What do you think about incentivizing people to give reviews? Would you recommend doing that?
We would never recommend incentivizing, and actually now going back to the hot topic of fake and fraudulent reviews, which are all around. So there's a government body looking into the whole review industry, making sure and really trying to guarantee genuine content so that consumers can rest assured that the content that they're being bombarded with is actually of genuine quality. So we find if you incentivize reviews, you potentially are inviting a certain type of reviewer to get involved, as if you actually just invite everybody and don't incentivize it, the response rate is good. We do see people incentivizing in store environment, and that's quite often because one of the solutions we offer is you've probably been presented with a store card or a code inside the store, and there's a little bit more effort involved where you have to go to a website and you have to put in your code and all those sorts of things. So to get a good response rate, you really do need to incentivize. But for the online system, because it's so simple, you're only asking a service question and you're only asking a product question, you could easily do it in 30 seconds. So we don't find a real need to incentivize.
Okay, brilliant. Probably time for one more. What is the average response rate, do you think?
Well, it really varies on industry to industry. Average across the board is about 16% for us, but you do see a lower response rate for insurance services. For example, if you just got a policy and you've not had to make a claim, you don't have a huge amount of involvement with that particular company, so you're potentially less likely to maybe leave a review for them. If you've been on holiday, you've had a huge investment, you've been with a company, you've spent 2 weeks worth of your time on a holiday or tour, you see huge response rates. So it really does vary, but on average about 16%.
Okay, brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Kirsten. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking the time to do that. I'm sure our customers find that really, really useful. And that's it this month. We'll be back next month with Startup TV, as I said before, and it's all about marketing your new business online. We'll be joined by Michelle Carville, our marketing director. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks again, Kirsten. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye.